Hi, everyone. Thank you for coming to today's virtual event, if not amazing stream. I'm really appreciative of everyone who's checking this out. I will do a quick introduction. So, my name is Dominic Shaw. I am the Equalities, Diversity and Inclusion Coordinator for Yuki, and it's my role at Yuki to basically help us, the industry, and anyone else who would like to be more accessible, inclusive, and welcoming to all sorts of diversity and inclusion matters. Um, so I really appreciate your time. We've got an amazing a massive panel, but an amazing bunch of individuals who are going to tell you about their careers, inspirations, and ways that they've been interacting with the games industry and their own journeys. Um, so I'm really looking forward to it myself, and I hope all of you are as well. Just so that people know, please, if you've got questions, submit them in the comment section of whatever channel you're watching this from. So currently we are streaming from Twitch, YouTube, and Twitter. So please enter your comments in the relevant fields, and we'll be moderating and making sure our panelists get to see these questions and hopefully answer them. But they will also obviously introduce themselves and give you all some great insight. So without further ado, and to bring the main shows of this event, I am proud to bring on our first batch of panelists to discuss streaming, advocacy, and everything else video games in their lives. So welcoming to the virtual stage, Michaela, Mara, and Nathan.
Hello. Hi.
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 Hello, everyone. Hey,
Oh.
we're here. We started. Streamers, we're in. We are in. Okay. Hey, Mara, would like to kick us off, lovely?
Yeah, sure. My name's Imara, but Mara for short. I work in the tech field. I'm also a content creator / Twitch streamer. Have been for the last year now. I enjoy it a lot. Love my community. Shout out to the Pink Forest.
Hey.
And I'm also from Birmingham, just like Kayla.
Nathan, how would you like to go next?
Oh, yes. Let's do the intro that I normally do. Hi, everybody. I am the androgynous android game show host from the future, Nathan Blades. I am a tabletop RPG designer, streamer, sometimes voice actor, and general internet ne'er-do-well.
I can never get sick of that intro. I think I want to just have that on repeat. I love your voice so much, Nathan.
Thank you.
I love it so much. Hello, everyone. I'm Michaela Sinead, but I go as it's Kayla Sinead when streaming on Twitch. In my day job, if you like, I am a leadership consultant, specifically on inclusive leadership, making sure that folks who are enjoying the games in all corners of communities are represented in the right way at all levels inside the gaming industry. And I've been streaming as well. My year anniversary actually is coming up in a couple of weeks, which is really, really mad to say and think, because I feel like I've been streaming forever, like genuinely. But it's really dope to be here and to be along these fab folks. Jeez. So the first question was what we were asked was how did we get into streaming? I've no problem starting this off. It was a complete accident. Like, believe it or not, this time last year I didn't know a little bit before. Last year I had no idea what Twitch was. I didn't know. Obviously knew about YouTube, but I had no idea what Twitch was. But I retreated back to gaming last year because we all needed a break from the reality. And Black Girl Gamers, shout out to Black Girl Gamers, shout out to Jayanne, love you, put on a summit, and it was on Twitch. And then I found out about this amazing platform and that, hey, it would be pretty cool to get involved. Now, if you were to go on a regular Twitch front page, or just go to the website, you don't see many folks like us. You don't see it. So with my rebellious streak, I was like, well, I'm going to do it. So I signed up, clicked live, and been doing it ever since, pretty much. How about you both?
Do you want to go first?
You can go, Nathan.
Oh, sure.
So polite. So polite.
We try to be polite. Yes. So my background was actually doing a lot of tabletop RPG podcasting. And it's known as actual play, where you record tabletop RPG sessions for other people to listen to. And I really enjoyed doing that, except to the kind of like post-production side of things. Audio editing is a mandatory part of the show if you want it to not sound awful, but I never really enjoyed doing that process. And I kind of switched to streaming so I could still do all of that, but because it's live, there is no post-editing. It's you do it and it's done. But there's a lot of production that needs to go in terms of putting those kind of shows together, and it turns out that pre-production just suited me a lot better. And then over time there was a lot of thinking about what in terms of video game stuff I would want to do. So it was I'm not good at playing video games well or fast. I'm not going to be on Games Done Quick anytime soon, but I do enjoy talking about games like critically as media texts. So that's my main focus in terms of video games. And then since August this year, I also now have a VTuber alter ego, Caster, who is the game show host under which I kind of introduce myself as we go in. So I do a little bit of everything, but all of it is kind of in service of like trying to be the best creator I can be. How do I improve myself as like an actor and artist? That kind of deal.
Vibes. How about you, Mara?
So I always wanted to do something around content creating. I used to have a website that did book reviews, but I always felt like I was missing something. Like I loved doing it, but it just wasn't, that thing. And during the first lockdown, me and a good friend of mine started a podcast. And around the time when George Floyd sadly passed away, we had a live Instagram show. And I finished that and I was like, do you know what? I really like being live and speaking to people. I spoke to a few people at work and I was like, how do I start streaming? Like, what do you even do? How do you get your stream onto Twitch? And they helped me and told me. And I think ever since the first stream, I just thought, yeah, this is for me. And I think it's a way for me to, so I've been heavily present in like the LGBTQI plus community, advocating for them, protest, stuff like that. But this is a way for me to reach people and use a platform for good.
And you do a lot of good. So much good. Yeah. No, I'm gonna. You absolutely do. We've had our first question, team. I like this one. Okay, so what was your first experience with video games?
Oh man, despite my age, which is a secret, you never ask a non-binary being their age. It's rude. I started actually gaming quite late. So my first console was like a Game Boy Pocket with like a Super Mario Land 1 and 2. Which I was very bad at, but then that led to me playing Pokemon, and then I became like an RPG dork ever since.
Nice. First experience with video games. I think so. Really fortunate that my family have always been into games. So there's always been a game console in the house, right? Whether it was my house, my aunt's house, my nan's house, my cousins. There's always a game console. Where are the kids? They're playing the game thing. Leave them. It's fine. But the very first memory that I have with like first experience with video gaming is playing alongside my dad, or rather watching him play Sonic the Hedgehog, Sega. It's in my history. Absolute classic. So that was the first experience. I'm just like, wait, there's this amazing thing on the TV that you're controlling, this dope music. I want to get in on this. Like I want to get involved. But my first, that was like the Sega Mega Drive was my dad's console. It's like my first console was the Nintendo 64. Shout out, as you can see the hat. I'm still a big fan. And I think the first game that I played on that, classic Mario 64.
I want to say mine is the Sega Mega Drive, but listening to you both, my mind's just gone even further back. And I'm pretty sure it was the GameCube, maybe, that we had in the house. And I remember looking at it like, it's a big square. Like, why does it look like this? But seeing, my memory is so boggled for me in a child, but I'm going to go with Beavis and Butthead on the Sega Mega Drive. That first segment when he's like, pull my finger. And I used to, I shouldn't have been playing it, but I was. But I think, that's probably that. And funnily enough, being a girl, I was around a lot of boys. And they kind of pushed me to play games with them, and they passed me the controller and stuff like that. So, I think
there's a lot of nostalgia attached to gaming for me. Like I didn't play much online games and stuff, like coming into Twitch, and that's the most multiplayer games that I've done online gaming that I've done online. It's been in person with my cousins, and my little sister as well, occasionally, just coming together and just playing the games and just vibing. Like that's what gaming means to me. And so when you're able to share that with a community of people who vibe with what you vibe with, and then teach you about other games or other kind of spaces that you might want to get involved in, it's streaming is an absolute treat, an absolute gift. Definitely. We've had another question, team.
Oh yes. Hello.
I don't know how to answer this. I'm gonna listen to you lot first and see what you say.
Okay.
What is a typical day for you as a streamer? What?
I'm happy to fill that one first.
Please.
So I don't stream full time. I actually already have a 9-to-5 working for a media mega corporation, which I won't name. So a lot of my streaming is in the gaps in between. So there are people who do stream every day, and that part of the routine of like finding that slot that works best for them, because we're in the UK, but most gamers and stuff are American. We kind of have to work on their time a lot and things like that. But for me, it is usually carving out, if it's like a normal week of just video games, like 2 nights a week, usually a Tuesday and like a Thursday from like 7. So I get to actually wind down from finishing work. Fortunately, at the moment I work from home, so transitioning from like my work computer to my gaming streaming computer isn't too difficult. We'll see what happens when I start going back into the office in it. And that's relatively straightforward. You know, I already have all the kit here, and it's just streaming for usually I do in the ballpark of 3 hours, and after that I get tired. I'm really impressed with the people who can do longer than that. But for tabletop streams, that takes a lot more, because I like to kind of go all out on the production of those, and have a soundtrack and graphics and bits and pieces for all those kinds of things. So that ends being like a protracted week and a half of preparation leading up to one big stream that goes for 3.5 hours, and then I will refuse to speak to anybody for a day because I've done too much talking. Nobody interacts with me. So it's usually those. Either it's like the small 2 times a week, or big working up towards one. I have a big one on Saturday at 7:30 p.m. on the twitch.tv/the Neon Caster. Come hang out with us. So I'm currently on the crunch mode this week, and I've not been streaming very much. But that's me.
Mara, Bab, how about you?
So I'm also a mom too. So my day consists of, not full time yet, manifesting. But my day consists of the school run in the morning, which is normally telling my little one that he can't play Fortnite before school. Then during the day, if I've done a long stream, I'll just be honest, if I've done a long stream the night before, I tend to nap, because naps are like self-care for me. And then when I've finished my nap, I'm constantly thinking about streaming, which is the thing, like it's one of the first things I think of when I wake up. And I'm always like, okay, so what can I add to my Discord today? What's my stream title going to be? What's today's, what am I going to talk about on stream? And then I will do the school run, do dinner, and then start the stream to tell Harley, okay, shush now. Stream doesn't want to hear you. Be quiet. And then they have me for it can be as short as an hour and a half or 6 hours. And that's my day.
Wow. And I need to push back on you a little bit there, because what you're being very modest about is your incredible TikTok game, your incredible TikTok ability, and they don't just fall into your hand like, oh yeah, here's a viral video, here you go. So there's the Sims content as well. Why don't you talk to us a little bit more about the content creation around streaming? Because when we're in this content creating space and we're talking about, you know, the representation in these different roles, and it's important that people get to have the full spectrum of what it's like, right? So streaming on Twitch or YouTube or wherever it may be is one element of the content creators that we are. So why don't you talk a little bit about your TikTok, darling?
Okay,
And a little plug, just like Nathan did. Let's go.
You got it.
So my TikTok is filled with clips of me that are like silly things that have happened on stream. The ones that are of me and that are silly tend to do well. So people obviously enjoy seeing me look like a brat, and that's fine. But I also create Sims as well. So I have an Instagram, Inspiring Imara, and that is basically just to showcase Sims that look like us. And Sims, I try and make them as diverse as possible. So you have a non-binary couple, you have a Sim that's a lesbian couple, you'll have a Sim that's a bit bigger or a bit thicker, or, you know. So I do that as well, and that's always after my nap that they are created.
When you're refreshed, absolutely.
Yes.
I like that. Okay, thank you, Mara. Thank you. And I know I'll put you on the spot a little bit, but I'm not sorry about it at all. Not sorry at all. The people know. The people need to know about the YouTube too, but we'll come back to it. A typical day for me as a streamer, again, similarly to these two, streaming's not my full time. I decided this year, as well as investing in a streaming part-time, I thought, hey, let me start a business. Let me quit my day job and start a business and see what happens, because you know what? Why not? So I'm in the process of trying to navigate what that looks like. The amount of work that is needed to grow a business, get out to clients, let people know what you're doing, be very clear in myself and what I'm doing, my offer, being able to support different organizations, still being quite new into the gaming space as well, but knowing my facilitation and hosting and all of that sort of skill set, bringing it into a new industry. Fun. So streaming is a really great release for that. Now, one of the reasons why I stream as well is to make sure that I'm building a community centered around Black women. Ideally, those in the Midlands as well, because I do think the Midlands needs to have a little bit more light shone on the wonderful folks that are here. So that's what my business is about, essentially, making sure that folks centered around Black women are aware of different organizations and opportunities within the gaming sector, but also claiming your joy in gaming. I think that it's pushed away, and it's not as much of a thing that is celebrated in more marginalized groups as I believe and we believe that it should be. So I'm doing my part in trying to make sure that we're dropping as many stereotypes as we can, and hey, this is a space for you, babes. Come through, enjoy yourself, have fun. So that's what the stream's about. It's about just having fun, because I am not a good gamer. No, again, no, not at all. Many times you'll see me raging on stream as everyone just passes me in any race, and I'm not a good gamer. I'm a decent team player. But again, I can't do these 4, 5, 6 hour plus stints either. So my cap is like a 4 hours too. But once I've done the stream, it's important that I then edit the stream. So it's then into smaller chunks, which are digestible on other content platforms, because you can't grow on one platform. And, you know, I want to spread this message as far as I can in different places. So it's about chopping that up. Also going back and looking to see if there's anything that I need to tweak, that I'd like to do differently, make sure that the mic looks okay, the background's okay, the lighting's all right. And I spend so much time just tweaking my stream deck. I love this thing. I honestly do. But it's about making sure that your stream is it's an extension of you. It's the first introduction that people have often of you, and what people will keep coming back to. So I'm wanting to make sure that stays fresh but still familiar. In that, and there's always some tech thing that we can be doing.
I'll definitely second you on the process of going over your streams after you've got them, to kind of cut them up into smaller chunks and things like that. A word of advice for any of you who are watching this right now and who also stream: please do make yourself a YouTube account, and please do use the highlighting feature to make backups of your streams, especially ones you enjoy a lot. The number of times where somebody's been like, please check out my Twitch, I'm going to be doing my best, I'm going to be making content, and I go there and they've let their previous streams expire and they have no highlighted VODs, so I don't get to see what their work is like. And I'm like, I don't know if I want to follow you because I don't know what any of your work is like. So please do back up your stuff, especially
keep the receipts. Keep your content receipts. Gotta let people see you. Do you get time to play games in your downtime, or do you entirely play games through streaming?
Barely. I was really bad at playing video games in my own time anyway, because media job, you end up consuming a lot of media anyway, and then finding the additional time to go and play video games. In fact, like, the second reason why I was streaming was like, there's a larger list of Cyberpunk video games that I really want to play and just can't make myself do. So if I play them on stream, it'll make me commit. And now I have a big backlog of games to play on stream, so the problem is still there.
Backlog. The backlog.
But yeah, no, I definitely, I think streaming has made me play games more, just in general, and be encouraged to play stuff in my free time, because there's stuff that I'll play on stream, be like, this game's great. I'm not going to play through the 60 hours of this live, but I will finish this off air in my own time. It's got me to play stuff like Final Fantasy XIV, which is a big commitment. Which I definitely wouldn't play on stream because I'm very, very bad, but it's definitely made me like interested in playing those games in my own time a lot more, for sure.
It's really necessary for me to have games that I don't play on stream, because before streaming, gaming is still my escape. It's my opportunity for joy, right? And it's carved into for me as a tool to look after my mental health. So I know that I need to be able to have my time for my games. Now, there's a certain group of games that I love and hold near and dear to my heart that are for me, that I won't play on stream. It's really, really important for me in that way. However, it's really great to have the opportunity to, again, like Nathan said, like, to be able to find out about different games and play them on stream. But the backlog is backlogging, and they keep on, and I say they as if it's just this one group, but they keep on adding titles that I need to buy because I'm a sucker for marketing. I'm a millennial. Show me something shiny on Instagram and yes, I want to buy it. And games are no different. I'm also loyal to a brand. So if there's a game coming out from Nintendo, I'm going to get it. I'm gonna get it. So it's my own fault. I add to my own backlog, but one day I'll get through. One day. How about you, Mara?
Since finally getting a Switch,
woo! Yes. Welcome.
I do play games in the evening a lot more now. But my son will not let me not play games on stream, because him and his little friends are like obsessed with me and they want me to play Fortnite with them. But it's also, same like Kayla said, it's an escape for me. I can switch off and just be in my own little world, put music on. And sometimes I think I'm probably not playing Sims, but I'm doing something in Sims, whether that's building or creating a Sim constantly. So, yeah.
Oh, now look at this one. Is there a character that you would highlight as a symbol of positive Black representation in games? I should really have this question because I'm currently doing a series, right? Yeah, I'm doing a series right now where I've been interviewing various Black content creators, Black British content creators about iconic Black characters in games that we've played growing up, right? And I've got all of these examples, but I mean, we're not a monolith. There are lots of different things about us that are positive in very different ways, right? So this is it's difficult, but some of the characters that I've highlighted that I've enjoyed playing, it might be a cheat, but my Redguard character in Skyrim, she is so strong. She is, and you know, Skyrim's one of those games that you can create your own character, right? And Redguard is the race of is the race of people, the species of people that are the people. Yes, okay,
they're
yes,
like fantasy Africans, as I recall.
Yeah, exactly. Fantasy Africans, I love that. So my Redguard in Skyrim, like she's everything, because she dabbles in magic. She makes sure that the city and wherever that she is safe from the dragons. She has family, and is able to be this like this parent to children as well as going out and just kicking ass. So the fact that you can be all of these things as a designed Black woman, I'm like, yeah, this is a very positive representation, at least for me. I think that's a bit of a cheat, but there's been so many dope Black characters, and I know that there are going to be some really cool ones coming up. I'm particularly excited to play as Layla in Redfall. Particularly excited for that. But I know that there's still some more character development that there could be in games for Black folks. But I'm curious, what about you both?
Real quick, I guess the genres of games that I enjoy playing are like JRPGs and fighting games, and across the gamut of those, the Black characters in them are like big, muscly, beefy dudes, and I hate that kind of character archetype. Like people like Nagoriyuki, I'm not gonna dunk on them or nothing, but it ain't for me. Or they just don't exist, especially in JRPGs, because they are set ostensibly in Japan with a low number of Black people. However, my two, like, I think favorite off the dome is like Venom from Guilty Gear, who is a gay Black man and just one of the most complicated fighters to learn, and therefore one of the hardest to fight against. Is generally adored and iconic across like the fighting game community in general, not just Guilty Gear. And he's not in Strive, and it's a crime. And then from like JRPGs, like Saz from Final Fantasy 13. I actually like almost all of the characters from Final Fantasy 13 because they are not heroes. They're people who've been flung into a terrible situation and are kind of doing their best. And Saz, in like a contrast to Barrett is much more interesting now in Final Fantasy 7 remake because he's much more nuanced and like an eco-activist, and I like that version of him a lot more than his original PlayStation 1 incarnation. But yeah, I just like Saz that is just a really kind of caring, compassionate person at best, especially about his kid, who's like a complicated person. They did need to put a chocobo in his afro. That was kind of like a weird misstep as a thing. But otherwise, character design is flawless. I want that jacket. But, you know, it can't be perfect. But I adore them both as characters. Venom, I think, most of all.
Thank you.
Mine is going to be Storm, but Storm from the X-Men game on the Game Boy SP Advance.
Okay.
Taking all the way back.
Throwing it back.
The first time I actually saw a Black female character in a game, and she was so strong, and I was like, I just remember always wanting to, because that game you would get certain characters as the levels went on, and I just remember always wanting to be, I'd actually restart the save again just so I could go and play Storm. And I think more currently who's had a positive impact on my son is going to have to be Miles Morales, because he gave my son so much light, and he just to see him playing it and how happy he was, and he actually said to me, "Mom, look, he's Black like us," and that I had to leave the room. I started crying. I was like, you know what, this is it for me.
That's so precious.
I'm done. So yeah, I'd say those two. Which is what we need for this generation. Like they need so much. We need to look up. They need to see people that look like them and are like them. And I love the direction that games are taking. To bring up Fortnite again, sorry, but the skin they just did recently with Joy. Her skin is vitiligo. She's got the pride flag on her. and it was made by someone who is part of the LGBTQIA plus community. So yeah, loving it. There's still more work to be done, but loving it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. The representation in games is so crucial. And I think that one of the things that I've been most grateful for when you're talking about like that looking up is being in a time where there are streamers now and there's content creators that we're very lucky that are here, like setting the standard for us. I'm thinking about Ebonics, I'm thinking about Geeky Cassie, I'm thinking about Nay Saga, I'm thinking about the Nerd Council, I'm thinking about Black Girl Gamers. Again, Jayanne Lopez, we love you. Like it just all of these amazing people who are British born, like Black folks that are doing bits in this space as well. Like it's great to have that to look up to. Absolutely.
Yeah. I think we've Nathan, got. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead. No, please.
I was going to say, Nathan, even yourself, like
especially.
Yeah, like I remember the first time I met you in the Black Twitch meeting, and I was so in awe because it's like, wow, there's someone who's like expressing themselves the way they want to. I think we need.
I mean, you gotta. I think the way that all of us approach Twitch is really different from each other. I've noticed in like comments, because there's a thing in the comments that I wanted to highlight specifically. Somebody says, "Well, if you're really shy but really want to get into streaming," I mean, there's so many different ways of expressing yourself as an individual, as a Black individual, as a queer individual. Even if you don't necessarily need to show your face. That's one of the reasons why I enjoy VTubing, is because you can be an entirely different, not existing person. The idea that you can perform as a fictional construct and still entertain and inform and delight people is like blows my mind. There's a decent number of mute streamers that exist actually, who do their content without saying a single word. Whether they themselves are mute or just aren't comfortable speaking on stream, and they're seeing success too. It's all about basically finding the thing about performing, because streaming is a performance really, more than just being good at video games, I think anyway. That the thing about performing that you personally enjoy and think is really cool, and not just it earns you money, because it doesn't earn you money. So finding the thing about the performance, it's like, no, this is fascinating. I love doing this. I love being part of this. And then you'll find your way into it.
I think we have time for one final question. Before we go on a quick break, and then it's the next panel. But don't worry, because after the next panel, there's one more panel after that, and then we'll be back with everyone, which is going to be great. But the question is, what do you think is the most important thing for streamers to gain traction and followers? One word answer from me. No, not one word, one phrase or one sentence. Passion and consistency. You gotta don't play a game because you think people want to see it. Don't put out content that you think people want to see. Do what makes sense to you so they can connect to you, so you can have the longevity and the sustainability with it.
I'll agree with the consistency. People will follow you when they know that they can find you roughly around the same time. Even if that's monthly, even if you are streaming only once a month, if they know on the third Wednesday of every month they can find you in your content, they'll be there. But you got to make sure you're available to be found. Me personally, I would say sculpting. Like, this is TV. Think like you're making a TV show. What about your TV show makes people want to tune in?
I'd say mostly, I agree with you both. So I'd say those networking. But when I say networking, don't just stick in the same bubble. When you end a stream and you raid someone, make sure you're not raiding the same people all the time. Because I've found that the people that I've met have been through, if I've raided someone who's, if I check a tag and I've raided them, and then I've met their community and they've met mine, I'd say, people will know if you're enjoying it. So like Nathan says, don't put out content that you think we want to see. And also a pet peeve of mine, put filters on your mics, please. Thank you.
Need that good audio. We need that good audio for real.
No tinnies, as I know. No tinnies.
This has been And none of the men were no, we're not doing that. We're not going into it. Please, just filter. Please filter. This has been an absolute joy. Thank you both so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, we're gonna go on a break now and see you all in the comments.
Bye.
Hello.
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 Hi. Good evening.
Good evening,
How's everyone doing?
Good. How are you?
Yeah, not bad.
Cool.
All right.
All right. So I'll kick off because I'm moderating. So my name is Wilfred. I'm co-founder at Audio Mob, and we have some wonderful people here that we're gonna have a very interesting discussion about around game development. So I'm looking forward to this. So what I'll do is, rather than me going through everyone's background, I think it's always best when people introduce themselves. So we will start. Let's start with the lovely Charlotte Amber, actually, in terms of if you give your name, your background, your job title, and then we'll kick off.
I'm Charlotte Amber. I'm the growth strategist at Audio Mob. I'm currently at uni and I'm studying anthropology of innovation. And this is actually my first job in the games industry. So that's a little bit about my background.
Cool. And then Prince, do you want to kick us off with your background? a bit about yourself?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, my name's Prince Jabawa. I'm a project manager in the PlayStation Store. This is my second role within the games industry proper. I came from Capcom, and yeah, I've been doing this job for a while.
Cool. Last but not least, Douglas also.
Yeah, hi guys. I'm Douglas. I work at Sega. I'm the consumer insights manager here at Sega. While it is my first job in the gaming industry, I've actually been at Sega for like 8 years, almost 9 now. So yeah, enjoying it.
All right. Wow. Okay. So we've got some really interesting people in the building, as you can all tell. So I guess my first question to kick off with is, what was your first experience with video games? And I'm gonna keep this dynamic. So whoever is more happy to go first, feel free to just shout and go ahead.
I'll go. Really interestingly, that was one of the questions in the panel before, and they were talking about like Sonic and Sega, and that was actually my first experience as well. And I think it was Michaela, she was saying it was with her dad, and that was my dad as well. I think it may be a dad thing. But in the mobile game world, definitely Temple Run, I'd say. That was a really big one for me.
Yeah, I was going to say mine's. Mine's almost exactly the same. It was a birthday. I got a Mega Drive along with Sonic. I think a game called Shinobi, Golden Axe, and Streets of Rage 2. So that was my first gaming experience. I love the way that your first gaming experience always gives away your age. So if you know what generation that's from, you can probably guess how old I am. Yeah, go on, Douglas.
I'm basically the same. Sega Genesis is my first experience with gaming, but also SNES as well, because I used to play with like a lot of my friends and cousins, and my cousins had a SNES and my friends had a Sega Genesis, so I sort of split between both. And then the actual first console I got myself was a Sega Saturn, and yeah, great games on that as well.
Cool, and I think I'm struggling on my one as well, because I think I like a mix in the days. It's probably like I think it's like a Wipeout or something like that. I quite remember playing Wipeout on the PS1. But okay, then my next question is, what inspired you to get a career in video games?
That's a good question.
Mine.
Go on, Douglas. You let me go first last time.
Mine's quite funny. I say it's funny, it might not be, but as a kid, I was like, as I said, I was playing with my cousins and my friends, and I got, in my opinion, quite good at playing video games, to a point where people, like friends, wanted to play outside, and I carried on just playing games inside. And then I think just one day in my house, we were getting the carpets changed, and one of the people that was changing the carpets saw me playing games and sort of challenged me on one of the games I was playing, like 2 of the games I was playing, and one was like Tekken and the other was FIFA, and he absolutely mopped the floor with me. He was much older anyway, but he absolutely mopped the floor with me. And at the time, being that young, I'm a sore loser, massive sore loser, right? So I've decided to, after that I don't want to lose many games again, even though you're going to. It's just how it is. So I practiced and got really good, even playing against friends and stuff like that again. But I wanted to know more. I wanted to just know the ins and outs of games. So just growing up, decided to take a course as well. So I studied games technology with business at uni. And then that just led me into gaming. So yeah.
Go on, Prince.
Okay. Yeah, so mine was, how did I get in? I think mine was an accident as well. So I think, like anyone, I was into games growing up, and I went to uni and I did marketing. So I thought, okay, my life's going to be in advertising. So I didn't even think about games at that time. So I thought that was my career and so forth. So I had a few roles just outside of gaming, like more with technology companies. And I remember one time I was looking for a new role, and a bit of advice my boss gave me was, oh yeah, just include the keyword like mobile, because you worked in mobile, right? And I just so happened to be applying for a job at a video game company that was looking for a mobile account manager. So it was really by accident that those two words matched up, and they had nothing to do with gaming. And then I found out who it was, and then I was just like, I got really excited. I was like, oh wait, this might actually be a reality. I might be able to like work with one of my passions. So yeah, I ended up getting the job. I was like in logistics initially, and one of my first managers there, he said, oh, once you're in the games industry, you can't leave. Like you don't want to leave. So I've just had job roles within there ever since. So yeah, it's like yeah, the 8-year-old prince is really happy that he got here at the end. So yeah, that's my journey here.
All right, so no, honestly, all of you had really actually no, Charlotte, Amber, before I forget.
Yeah, mine's a little bit different because I study anthropology at uni, and that's all about people and working with people and collaborating. And the reason why I chose to enter the games industry is because you can't find an area in the entertainment industry or just any industry where you can reach 3 billion people. Like there's 3 billion people gaming, and there's over 2 billion people on mobile gaming. So yeah, the fact that you can reach so many people, collaborate with people, communicate with people, that was just so attractive, and that's why I ended up going down this route.
No, honestly, all of you had really interesting ways, almost like some of you kind of the way you found your way into the industry. And I think that's a point I want to expand on, because one of the questions that I always get, especially from people in our community, is actually how do you get into the games industry? Because a lot of people in our community are playing games all of the time, just like any other community, right? But I guess my question then is, what would be your recommendations in terms of if someone wanted to get into the gaming industry? Like, what should they potentially be studying? Or if they don't need to study anything, maybe they have to like build a portfolio or something, or maybe it's the way they position their CV. What would your recommendation be? Because I think that'd be quite useful for people on the stream watching, just to get an understanding of how to even get into the industry.
I can go. The advice I give everyone is I think LinkedIn is one of your best tools in terms of research. So basically just start anywhere, like maybe start with a CEO of a company, because those names are easy to find. Like and from there, just have a look at their job roles, go to people associated with them and so forth, until eventually you find like a role that you like the sound of, because you can just read people's job descriptions and see what it is they do for work and see if it matches up with your skill set. And so from there, just look for other people who have similar job titles and basically see what they did to get into the position that they're in now. Because I think obviously with my path, it was like up and down. I've really done lots of different things, and people I work with don't all necessarily come from university or from gaming backgrounds. So literally you can be anyone and be here, but knowing what they're going to ask of you when you get here is really important. So just like doing your research in regards to, like, say, like there's lots of different project managers within the games industry, but just looking that up and seeing the different types can really help you in the interview process or tailoring your CV towards it, because you'll see certain keywords, certain experiences, and so you can tailor like the work you do or the work you represent in your CV to those particular job roles. So that's probably my number one recommendation. Just do research through the avenues you have available to you.
I would say on top of that as well is the games you play. The games you play are made by studios and made by publishers. So if you are not sure where to look to the games that you're playing right now. Look for them, search them, Google them, and then you can find out on their website, you know, what's available, what sort of job roles are going as well. As well as that, some people may think working in the games industry, you're going to be doing a lot of development or you need to be creative or anything like that. But it's really not just about that as well. There are a lot of white collar jobs at publishers and studios. They need people in finance. They need people with business mindset. They need people with IT skills as well, just for day-to-day handling of the business. They need a legal team as well. They need a sales team as well. So all those sort of positions don't necessarily have to be creative. They don't necessarily also have to come from uni as some people might think. If you have an internship somewhere, which Sega provides as well, if you just look that up, those jobs are available at studios and at publishers.
Yeah, and to second that, like internships are so important. Also, there's mentoring schemes, there's avenues to get into the industry that you may not be aware of. So researching all of those is really helpful.
Thank you all. And then my next question is a bit more on the gaming side. And in terms of, I guess, during your experience with games, how have you seen representation, and what are your thoughts in terms of representation in the game industry when it comes to like not only within the studios, but then when we actually receive the art, if you like, when we're actually playing the games? What are your thoughts on that representation? Like, do you see it positive? Do you see it that there's work or more room that we need to be doing? Or are you actually like, actually, I've seen some really good examples of actually representation and people who look like us in these games or in the studios as well?
Well, I'll start with that one. In terms of representation in games, well, I work for a Japanese company, and a lot of our games are from Japan, as well as that. We have some games from our SOA or Sega of America as well. But the games that come from Europe, Sega of Europe, are games like Total War, which is based on history, Company of Heroes from Relic, which is a game based on history as well. But they're predominantly, they have to reflect the time and place of history, where representation isn't really that much for us. A game where I would say we have tried to show representation was Alien Isolation. And for me, a personal experience with that is, they sort of asked us, or asked members of our staff to sort of, I've forgotten what it exactly is, but to have ourselves photographed and actually placed in the game to represent black characters in the game, because the studio wasn't able to actually attract that sort of actors or people where they're based currently. So for Sega, we have tried, and they're doing the best they can with what they can for their games. In other games, I haven't seen it as much, if I'm honest. There are not many games where I see a black male lead or a black female lead, up until recently, actually, with Miles Morales and then Deathloop. So, yeah.
Yeah, I can add to that. I think representation is more thoughtful now than it has been in the past. I think like a lot of the time it would like be subject to caricatures or stereotypes, and like obviously back in the day you're probably just grateful for a little representation, but like as we progress, as you get older, as you realize the world's changing, you kind of want them to be better, to be more respectful, to be more thoughtful, and stuff like that. But I definitely feel like representation is getting more thoughtful, and soon you're just not even going to notice it. It's just going to be a thing. And yeah, I think there's a lot happening in the indie space, but I think the issue there is it's not getting the promotion it probably deserves. And so like, yeah, if you look at a lot of indie games, there's a lot more representation, a lot more diversity in terms of characters, like whether they're like a person of color or like non-binary, etc. Like there's a lot more happening, but I think the industry could do more to promote those voices, promote those creators, and just like, because like the stuff is there, it's just whether or not it's coming to the top and rising to the top and being advertised and so forth.
Yeah, I would say we're going in the right direction. We haven't reached where we should be yet, and I hope that happens soon.
Cool. And then, we've got a question from the audience, actually. So is working in the gaming industry what you expected it to be? Is the first question from the audience. Who wants to take that one?
I can start if you want. I can say yes and no, because obviously the first question everyone asks you is like, oh, do you play games all day? And I'm like, no, of course not. And like one of the first things that happened when I started working at PlayStation was they gave me a PlayStation and stuck it on my desk. So I was like, if anyone sees a photo of my desk, they're gonna be like, yeah, of course you play games, sort of thing. Like, there's a PlayStation right there. But no, it's honestly for testing. So all I do is test on it, honest. Like, but yeah, there's a lot more. Like as Douglas alluded to earlier, there's a lot more elements behind it. Like in terms of like it's an industry like similar to any other entertainment industry, and there's all the assets of like legal and like HR, like business, marketing, PR, all of it is necessary, and sort of realizing that. And also the big shocker is not everyone's a gamer here. So I think that was the biggest shock. And I was just like, I remember speaking to a CFO of a company, and it was like, "Oh, do you play games?" I told him all the games I play. It's like, "Oh, what about you?" And he's like, "I haven't played anything since Street Fighter 2." I did a double take. I was like, I thought I was gonna have to play a game for my interview, and it's just like, yeah. So that was the biggest shocker for me.
Yeah, for me, I don't know if I had that many expectations. So, yeah, taking each day as they come.
For me, yes, it is everything I expected it to be in a positive way. It's been enjoyable. I've met so many people in the industry. I've met so many people I can call friends outside of this as well. People have left, and I'm still like in communication with them. And then it's the job itself, especially my position, where I get to see games from literally conception to release. It's been so fun, and yeah, glad I'm here.
Cool. And then, another question from the audience. Any advice for applying for game design and development jobs? I think we want to get very, like I think that's very particular around the game design and development jobs in particular in the gaming space. I don't know if anyone on the panel has ideas or thoughts on that.
I can speak towards it because I've heard this question before, and speaking with my colleagues, they give me this answer. It's portfolios. So demonstrating your ability before you apply. So like if you can go into the interview room and say, have a look at my work, you can find it here, this is what I've done, etc. And you don't necessarily have to use like tools that create games like Unity and I've forgotten all the other game engines. Unreal Engine, for example. You can just make it within a game. So there's plenty of games out there like Dreams or Little Big Planet where you can demonstrate your ability to create levels and design levels, and not necessarily have to learn like game development tools from the ground up. So just like demonstrate your creativity, demonstrate your ability, demonstrate that you're willing to put in the work and the hours and you know what it takes. I think that's key because like not everyone will do that. And so it gives you a leg up in the interview process if you have something to fall back on to say this is where I started and this is how it's going, essentially.
Yeah, I would 100% second that. Like a lot of job roles, having that portfolio where you can actually demonstrate your work, it doesn't necessarily. I think that's one of the cool things with the games industry. It actually allows you to. You don't necessarily have to have like all of this experience. Of course, that's good, but if you can show in a portfolio that actually these are a bunch of things I've created. As you said, Prince, in it can be in someone else's platforms as well. Doesn't necessarily have to be your own game from scratch. It's always great. Oh, actually, I was just about to ask something else, but we've got another question from the audience, so I will revert to the audience question. So, what's the one skill you would recommend someone should work towards to get into your job roles? I feel like they're gunning for everyone's roles here.
For my role, I started as an assistant, so it's just brushing up on your research skills and knowing your methodologies, as well as knowing the gaming industry and the current trends and the future trends that are coming up as well. Just making sure you're aware of that and how you can apply that to whatever studio, publisher, or business you are applying for. If you are capable of that, you're going to start off well, especially for my role. Yeah.
I'll go next. For my role, I would say your ability to learn on the job, your ability to be uncomfortable in situations where you don't know everything, and your want to want to continue to learn. Like in every day, there's a new situation for me that I've never come across, new jargon that I don't know, new tech things that I don't know. And the greatest skill that I have is to be uncomfortable with not knowing everything and to work quickly to learn them. So if you can get that, I think you'll be golden.
Yeah, that sounds like solid advice. I think as a project manager, I think one of my main things is to be a people person, because oftentimes as a project manager, you've got to manage other people's time when you're not necessarily their manager. So if they don't like you, they're not going to help you. So it's best to just like learn, communicate, build relationships, and sort of like and the other aspect as well is like being your own manager and setting your own tasks, because as a project manager you're pretty autonomous. Like once you're given a project, it's yours and you kind of have to manage it from like start to finish. So being able to like list down your tasks, make sure you get them done on time, chase up with other people when that needs be. So those two things combined essentially get you on the road, like to like hopefully, I think I'm successful with being a decent project manager. So I would say those two things.
No, thanks for that. I think that was really solid advice from everyone. And then we have another question from the audience. Do you have a favorite Black video game character?
I have a few.
Yeah, I was going to say.
I think I'm going to try and not go for the obvious ones to give people some room. But I was thinking about this the other day, but I do like Mira from Donut County. I think it's Donut County. I don't know if anyone's played that game. It's like an indie game. Like you're controlling a hole and you have to slowly suck up everything that's on the earth, and it's not very long, but it's really entertaining. And the reason why I like that character is because like a lot of the time, like as Douglas says, there's a reason why like Black people exist in the world, and it's like they're not going to be there in historical like events because we concentrate on like Western, like European events. Like we don't really concentrate on Africa and like South America, etc. And yeah, in that game, like the main character is just Black, and there's no explanation. She's the only human, and it's just like that. And like like you don't have to look in the background. Like, okay, why is she Black? No, it's just that's who she is, and that's her character, and there's no explanation. No one cares. Like, and it's just there, and it's like it makes you think, oh yeah, there'll be some time in the future where you won't even think about it. And so that's what that game gave me, and so like I really appreciate that. So yeah, that's what I'm going to stick with for that answer, for that question.
I'll go next. My one isn't quite as interesting as Prince's. I really liked your answer. That was a really great answer. I like being a big Temple Run fan. I don't know if you guys remember, but at one point Usain Bolt was one of the characters you could run as. And that was a great time for me, I can't lie. So I'd have to say that's one of my favorites.
Yeah, I do remember that. Mine, well, like Prince said, there's quite a few, and even in the previous one, Mara and Nathan mentioned, Saz, Barrett, and Miles. But I'm taking it a bit back, and it's actually Eddie Gordo from Tekken, because I just remember like getting a PlayStation 1, playing Tekken 3, and absolutely watching this guy just spin about, just doing his capoeira, and I was just like, this is one of my favorite characters.
You're bringing back memories, man.
I know.
Yeah, honestly. And Prince, I love what you said around we'll get into a point where we won't even question it, and I think that's a really, really good point in terms of like you just be like, oh, that's just the character. You're not even thinking about anything else. I really like that. And then we've got another question from the audience. So how can we encourage more people of color to work in the industry from your experience?
That's a tough one.
Well, I'm hoping this helps.
Yeah, generally, yeah.
Because when I joined, I don't think you know, I hate this, but yeah, you know, you go to an office and then you look around and you're like, oh yeah, I'm the only black person here. Something, or in my case, I was the only black guy there. Yeah, I think a lot of it is knowing what's available, knowing that you can do it. Because I know at the start, I think when I just got out of uni, I think I applied for like loads of different gaming jobs at like the big boys and didn't hear anything back. And that can be really discouraging. And you think, oh, okay, maybe it's not for me, or maybe I didn't do the right thing at uni, etc. So I think just knowing that you can, and there are people out there that are successful. So just seeing more like prominent black figures in the games industry, I think is definitely a help to show people just on the subconscious level that yes, you can do this, because anyone can do it. You don't have to be like a special gamer. You don't have to be good at games. You don't even have to play them. Like, as long as you're passionate and you can demonstrate your ability, you can find a role for yourself here.
Just to echo that, it's just be confident in yourself. Be confident in the skills that you are planning to show, your portfolio, the skills that are for the job that you're applying for. Be confident in that and yourself. Because likewise, when I started at Sega, there was only a few black people working at Sega, and when I saw them, it was in different departments as well, and it was good to see. I was really happy, and since then, more I've seen more actually join Sega, and so I really do feel if you're confident in what you're doing and your application as well, and the interview as well. Be confident in the interview as well. You'll succeed at getting that job.
Yeah, I agree. Representation is so important because, like you said, if you don't know it exists, then how do you know to dream of it or even plan for it? But equally, I think one thing the industry can do is when you do have those black employees, let them do their job. If they're there to be a game designer, they're not also there to be your diversity and inclusion officer. They're not there to answer all those questions. They're not there to be the font of knowledge for that whole area. Value them for the job that you hired them for.
Couldn't agree more. Thank you for saying that.
Yeah, no, honestly, a great point, Charlotte Amber, because you see that happen a lot where it's like you have that one person in office and you just become the go-to for every single question about the whole race, which is not really on. All right, we actually have another question from the audience. Do you have a moment in your career that you would class as an achievement / proudest moment? I think that's quite a nice one.
I'll go first because my proudest moment was pretty recently. I had my first piece published. Actually, I'm on like 3 pieces now. We're doing a lot. But I'm currently published in the Drum, Adobe Magazine, and New Digital Age, and those are all extremely exciting milestones for me in my career.
Congrats.
Check them out.
Yeah, well done. Send me the link later.
I will.
Douglas, have you thought of yours?
No, I was stalling as well.
Because I actually answered this like a year ago while trying to think, has anything else happened? I'm just going to say the same thing. All right, so I think mine was, if you go to the PlayStation Careers website, we actually have a video like promoting like our company and trying to get people to like apply for jobs, and I'm in that like video reel. I was actually interviewed for it as well, and it's quite funny because back then I was a digital operations assistant, and like I've been promoted twice since then, so like it's like really cool to look back and see I was considered at that moment in time like to represent PlayStation. Was really cool, and like I enjoyed working with like the film crew, and turns out I knew someone that was on the film crew who wasn't on site, but like I saw her later and she was like, oh yeah, I was editing it, I was making sure you look good, like etc. So yeah, that was a really proud moment because I can always go back to that video and see like what I contributed towards.
Send us the link for that video as well.
Yeah.
Will do.
I think for me, if I could even talk about it, it's just it hasn't happened yet. It hasn't come out yet, and when it does, and hopefully it is successful, that will probably be my proudest moment. To have worked on that title, it's going to be huge.
I love that, Douglas. You're definitely gonna have to send us that link in the future. So we can all have a look at what time that is. I'm actually really in suspense. But I know with that I think that marks the end. Because I've been told yes. So, but honestly, I thought it was a really good session, and it was just good to hear everyone's opinions, and also great questions from the audience. Actually, we had a lot of questions from the audience, which I thought were really, really good. And hopefully that was really helpful for everyone who was watching. But yeah, I think we can wrap up on that. And honestly, thank you all for your time, Douglas, Prince, Charlotte, Amber. Yeah, it's been a pleasure talking about game development and also during Black History Month. So yeah, thanks everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks, really enjoyed it.
Guys.
Thank you.
Hello, 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 hello.
Hello.
How you doing?
I'm good. And you, how are you both?
We're good, thank you very much. Very well indeed.
Cool. Should we kick off with about our backgrounds?
Yeah, man. I guess you should start, Wilfred. You've been here the whole time, so you know, lead us in.
All right, will do. All right, so my I'm getting a bit of an echo in once. All right, guys, I'm still getting a bit of an echo. I'm not sure if the audience can hear that. Give me 1 second.
No worries. All this live stuff, sometimes technology just isn't your friend.
While I do that, all right, is this a bit better?
There's no echo for us, by the way.
Okay. All right, let's go ahead. So on my side, I'm CTO.
Okay, let me try that. Unfortunately, control room is back there. So it's the studio room. To mute it, as you can see, he had to leave. So unfortunately, we tried to sort of move forward, and because we're a production company and we have cameras and microphones, and so we do it in a studio environment. But unfortunately, the operator is Richard, and Richard's also on the show today, so he's had to run off. But I believe he should be back in a moment, and everything should be all right.
Right, cool. Let's wait for Richard to come back.
Okay, hi. Can you both hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, Michaela.
Everyone hear me? Okay, fantastic. I've come in to jump to see what I can do to help out to move this along. So this panel we're talking about entrepreneurship in the gaming space. So loving this already. We've barely started. But to kick us all off in the way that we have before with the other panels, let us know a little bit about your journey in the gaming space and how you got to be the entrepreneurs that you are today. Wilfred, you sound better to me. Can we go ahead and do a test to see how are you doing?
I'm good. Can you hear me now?
Yes, there we go.
Michaela, you're echoing a bit.
A little bit, but I can hear it.
Cool. All right, so I'm co-founder and CTO of AudioMob. What we do is we bring audio advertising into gaming, and the way that came about, I guess, is from when I was starting my career and seeing mobile gaming and playing a lot of mobile games. Is that there was a lot of annoyance when getting interrupted by video ads. So it's kind of, I had a really interesting route into the games industry because it wasn't necessarily a direct route, right? In terms of I was building games, and actually by kind of experiencing something that wasn't really benefiting me or was annoying me, ended up developing a whole business around it. So since then, we've managed to get over $2 million of funding and actually started to scale our business into more and more mobile games.
It's the low-key flex for me. I love that. Just, I saw a gap, came in, changed the world, just as you casually do. I absolutely love that. Rich, Mark, it's wonderful to see you back. Rich, hello, hi. Let us know about your entry into the gaming space with this amazing setup. Y'all are looking great right now. Great.
we are, but I need to make it work. We've got a full-fledged studio in West London where we do a whole bunch of productions, a whole bunch of online stuff. Now COVID-19 is subsiding a bit. We're returning to people coming into the studio and using it to do broadcast. Just this afternoon, there's a breast cancer awareness week stream that Capcom and Street Fighter are putting together. We had someone here streaming from here doing that just before the show, actually. So an introduction how we're going to. Do you want to do it? Okay. Now, oh well, what's happened to my sound? Well, this is not going 100% correct.
You're coming through. You're coming through very
me.
Clearly. Yeah, Mark,
So
you're coming through crystal.
Oh, what's happened? Never mind. Can you guys all hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Crystal.
We are esports broadcasting and event organising, predominantly for fighting games throughout Europe. There are numerous world tours for Street Fighter, for Tekken, and quite a lot of the fighting games. And we're fortunate enough to kind of had our fingers in the pots of most of them. We work with Sega, Capcom, Bandai Namco, Atlas, Reed Exhibitions, the Gamer Network. We've spread our wings pretty far, and from being avid Street Fighter fans, we managed to get into the industry somehow. On a very entrepreneurial journey of madness that we never thought we'd get into, and just secured opportunity, then capitalized on it and just expanded our portfolio, our team and our skills. And we're pretty influential in the overall fighting game community, the FGC, globally, from all the way in West London all the way to America and Las Vegas. So I can't complain. I've got a pretty good career out of this now.
I mean, that's wonderful to hear, right? And what was very clear that was coming from both of you is that you saw an opportunity and you went for it, right? Which is absolutely what we're needing to do. And especially as we're talking about Black History Month, and we were talking in the panel before in just people taking a chance and absolutely just going for it. So I really that's really inspiring to hear from both of you saying that. So we've got the first question from the audience. What inspired you to make your own company rather than working for someone else? And we've touched on it, but where did that path of owning your own start for you? So I'm gonna come to you first, Wilfred, if I may.
Yeah, of course, Michaela. Thanks for the question. I think for me is I always wanted to own my own company ever since I was really young. But I think on the second part of that was I did work for companies before. So I was in banking, then I was in Google for 4 years. And I think it was there as like where I really realized that there was a massive opportunity, as you mentioned earlier, Michaela, that wasn't really being tapped into, because I was like, there's this audio advertising thing that's really blown up because of podcasting, because of the streaming, people watching more Spotify, etc. Listening to more Spotify, listening to Pandora, and also realizing that, wait a second, there's this current way of people, which rightfully so, need to monetize and advertise to their users to basically pay the studio's bills, right? It makes total sense as to why we need to do it. But is there a better way? Because it was kind of like we're interrupting the user in the current form of advertising we're using to monetize our games and pay the bills. So it was kind of trying to find that win-win for everyone. And that's what kind of like we were just thinking, if we don't do it, someone else is going to do it, because it just makes sense, because gaming is so big. Need to pay the studio's bills, need to basically grow the studio out, build more titles. But then also on the other end, the users also, people who consume the games and are enjoying these games, especially on mobile, also don't want to be interrupted. So it was just kind of like, if we don't do this, someone else is going to find a way of doing it. So it's kind of like, we might as well, as we stumbled upon this opportunity, execute on it and build it. And taking that leap of faith of leaving our jobs.
But that's a big thing, Wilfred, and it's not to underestimate that, like taking that leap and having that confidence in yourself to be able to say, you know what, I spot something, I see something, I am the right person to do that, or I at least know how to bring the right team together to get it done. How do you develop that level of confidence?
I think that's a great question. I think it's almost from, and this is why I say it's really important that I actually had a career and worked in other companies beforehand, because you then build that confidence, as you said, because you're like, well, actually, no, I know a lot about this particular field, and a lot of people already trust me in my job around this particular field. And then I think it's almost you just have to shed the doubt in terms of, well, this is so obvious. And then also I think what helps, and to be fair as well, is so I don't also want to sound like a superhero. What also helps is that when you get other people to validate it, right? You ask people, and so you build something really small, and then you ask people like, would you use this? Like you go to a game development studio, like, is this something that you would actually think would be quite helpful in your game? And I think getting that validation kind of makes you think like, well, I'm not as crazy as I might have thought. So it seems like a lot of people may want to use it. So yeah, I definitely say validating definitely helps building that confidence, because you're like, okay, I've got this idea, should I make the jump? But okay, actually I validated it. People actually agree with me that they also found that being interrupted in their gameplay not a good experience as well.
I mean, I think it definitely helps when you've got an idea that your ideas, it's a good thing, and then when that's validated, absolutely. But what you also do when you open yourself up for feedback is for the bits that you don't necessarily want to hear, right? Or you're not necessarily ready for, but you don't know what you don't know, and you have to ask it. So you have to keep asking for the feedback as we go along. Mark, are you ready and able to answer the question, or not just yet? Okay, we'll come back. We'll come back to Mark and Rich. Wilfred, if you don't mind chatting with me just for a little bit longer, do you know what I mean? So when we're talking about feedback and sourcing that feedback, and again looking forward to that that sort of confidence building, I wonder if there was any mentors that you had in your as you're coming up who was able to help you in your process, and then in turn what you're doing now, being in the space that you are, what are you doing to help others come along?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I definitely am a big fan of mentorship. I think mentoring is one of the biggest and best ways we can impart our knowledge and share our knowledge, especially within our community. So that's something that actually me and Christian do quite a bit of. So if you go onto our website, like we actually have a mentoring program for basically focused on, but not exclusively to Black and ethnic minority people. Not even, we don't actually have an age limit, so I just say people. So, and the reason for that is we do get a lot of these questions where people ask around like entrepreneurship, how did you manage to get in? And I think it's important that we are able to then share a lot of that information that we've gathered with them. So yeah, 100% think mentorship is one of the best ways, more so than even, if I'm honest, more so than some of like, and I say this to someone who got a scholarship, a part scholarship, even something more important than the money, actually, the knowledge.
I completely agree with you in terms of that mentorship, but it's not only what the mentor's doing in terms of supporting you and sharing advice with you, but also how they're advocating for you in the rooms that you're not in the circles that they're operating in and moving around. It's so important to develop those relationships. And as someone was saying earlier, the importance of networking is absolutely crucial for that. Rich, Mark, you look like you're ready to go. I've got a smile from Mark. I've got thumbs up. Right. Okay, we're good then. So what I'd love to hear is from you. What inspired you both to start up your own company rather than working for someone else? And how did you start on that path? Rich, I just wanted to get confirmation. I thought it was just me, but unfortunately we can't hear you. No, we're not hearing anything. I was doing my very best to lip read, but I'm not that good with that. But the thing is, the last time we could hear you, and then when Mark couldn't hear himself, we could hear everyone. So what if that needs to be undone the way that it was? if that's possible, that would be great. What I'll do is I'll jump into the next. We can't hear you either now, Mark, but we could before. But it's great to see you. You look great. I just want to say, you guys look great. Like the production in terms of what it looks like I'm about it. It's just we can't hear. That's the only thing. Audio Mob, we need some help. We need the connection here, team. We need the connection. So here's a question, Wilfred, from the audience. What does a standard day look like for you, if there is even a standard day for an entrepreneur?
Great question.
From my experience, there really isn't.
I'm with you, Michaela. No, I can't say there's a standard day, because what happens is, and I'll give some insight into that, because I know everyone's like, oh, entrepreneurs are really busy and all stuff. I don't want to be one of those and say that.
Hello.
But what? Hello, we can hear you, Mark.
Okay. Okay, all right. 100%. Sorry. Right.
No worries. I'll finish this point and then definitely let's switch over to you. Now you got sound on. All right. So the standard day for me. There isn't really a standard day. That's like Michaela said. What happens is you'll have a schedule of things you need to do. You'll get 1,000,001 interruptions from like here and all of these, like engineering team pinging me, marketing team pinging me, sales team pinging me, co-founder pinging me, and then it just becomes a whole, almost like you're just spinning plates, to be really honest with you, every single day. So that's really cool. It's cool in a way though, to be fair. But yeah, I would say, no real standard day. You try to have one in terms of, you have meetings, don't get me wrong, in there, but I think it definitely gets pulled about. But I definitely want to give the chance to Rich and Mark to give us insight into what they do.
No, I appreciate that, Wilfred. Right, Rich, Mark, here we go for the time. I think this is the one. I think this is when the third time a charm. Is this
third time lucky?
Oh, here we go.
Okay, I don't want to talk.
Coming in slick.
I was gonna play a game with you. I was gonna go. But we're here.
Listen, we're here and we are live and direct and we can hear the things. Right, Rich, I'm so sad that we couldn't hear what you were saying, because it looked great. But a reminder of the question. So what inspired you to create your own company rather than working for someone else? And how did that start for you both?
So while we progressed through college and whatnot, we got very, very, very similar skill sets. Both artistic, both could draw, both moved on to design packages, and just learned how to do it. Worked out, so I can do stuff. Mark can do stuff. We started designing flyers for club nights during university and making some money out of it. So we started a flyer company in our early 20s, designing flyers for club nights for various clubs in the local area. And it started from that. We could work as a unit, being twins, being brothers. We can tolerate each other, just about. And we figured that, two people working together, we built. It was being a twin. You're like a brand anyway from the get go. So it just works that we could work together. We started a small design company in our 20s, and it wasn't anything to do with video games. We loved the fighting game genre. So Capcom was a massive part of our childhood, playing Street Fighter 2, Final Fight, Sidearms, things like that. And it was just a passion for just creating stuff. I used to look at the video game characters. I used to, certain magazines would blow up the screenshots very large, and you could see each pixel. And good old Deluxe Paint on the Commodore Amiga, I sit there and used to count the pixels across and redraw them, redraw video game characters in a very, very, very simple editor. So it was just a general love for certain games, and it wasn't about getting into video games. At a point, maybe 16, 17, what I thought I would love to do was design the instruction manuals for games, because there wasn't many artistic careers in gaming back then. I think it's just programmers, and there clearly was, but they weren't on the forefront. You couldn't study for them. You had to really dig deep to find them. So my dream was to design inserts for the games and stuff like that, and then even make our own website at the time, which we did in the end. So just aspirations, really, just to get into it. And we did manage to actually, pierce into that. And it wasn't the direction I thought would go, but it was just a passion for it all, and a passion of being creative and just copying and wanting to do it was a good starting place, really. Oh, me? Yeah, you. See?
Anything
See,
to add, Mark?
I always got to wait for him to finish. So I've got a slightly different angle.
Okay.
The bottom line is, but how did we get into the industry? And that was luck. Lady Luck knocked on our door a few times. Then from Lady Luck, it comes opportunity. We were always kind of the twins. It was like a built-in commodity. It's got its pluses, it's got its minuses. But it's always, these twins. As Richard says, we were graphic design students. We used to go to the Chocodero. We used to study in West Harts College. We discovered Street Fighter 2 on the way to school. And this game was just like, oh my God, what is this? It's like, I can't play it, don't know what I'm doing. But I loved it. Someone taught us how to do fireballs and dragon punching. Our head came off. And I remember the guy that showed me. Because before that, there was no quarter circle forwards or half circle backs. It was just either like 4 buttons. It was up, down, left, right. So whoever invented Street Fighter, they created something. I don't think they realised how influential Street Fighter 2 is to every fighting game we have today. Because without that, you wouldn't have these Tekken 7s and Street Fighter Cross Tekkens and Street Fighter 5s and Guilty Gears. So from someone that loved the game, and we used to play it on the way to school in our local sweet shop, and we used to go to Chocodero, and there was a company called Reflex Competitions back in the late 90s that was doing video game tournaments. And we were addicted to Street Fighter. We live in Ruislip. We used to go all the way to Chocodero every Saturday. We used to do a paper round for £10, but a one-day travel car for £1. Go West End, go Chocodero, and watch Street Fighter. And we thought we were good. We weren't. The level in central London, around Soho, Argon, it was different. It was inspired to basically get as good as that. Then arcade tournaments started to happen, and these two twins got quite good. We went to numerous arcade-based tournaments around Oxford Circus, and one time the event organizer noticed that we carried these huge portfolios, about three quarters of our height, and everyone kind of knew, you do graphic design, but I just had some design work stuck on the outside. So this guy's doing tournaments, says, do you want to do like posters for like a fighting game tournament? I'm 17 years old. I love these fighting games. This guy goes, do you want to do these tickets and these posters for these fighting games you love? Of course, I'm just like, yeah. Back then I didn't realise he's exploiting us, but I think you have to be exploited to get a touch of the industry. Those guys got a bit older, they moved on. We kept going to this arcade to the point where the arcade operators knew who we were. Because we was there, like, people that went to it's Namco Wonder Park in Piccadilly Circus.
Piccadilly Circus. I believe it's a restaurant now. The people that went there went every week. So people from Reading, people from Sidcup, people from Croydon, Ruislip, Hillingdon, we're from, every week. And it became more like sort of a social thing more than just playing the games. The arcade was going to close. We had this idea, let's do tournaments on, I think it was Street Fighter Alpha 3, Tekken 5, I think a game called Street Fighter EX something.
King of Fighters.
King of Fighters 98. And loads of people came to this event. We didn't know what we were doing at the time, but it's like, wow, we did a tournament and somebody liked it. Then the arcades began to close, the birth of the Super Console, the PlayStation, the Dreamcast came along, and every arcade that we used to hang out with shut down. A few were left, but it was further to go to, and no one really had the drive to go when these consoles at home started to become as good as the arcade. We started hanging out in people's front rooms. We had a quite big house. Our parents would allow us to let friends come round, but it got to 11 o'clock at night and there's 10 guys upstairs clicking buttons. And does anyone know how loud buttons are? So that's like, you and your friends need to leave. So from that, we discovered the friend who's working in a internet cafe, and he goes, I want to do a tournament. And we kind of muscled in, and we did a tournament in a place called, was it Harrow Life?
Harrow Life.
And we did some posters for it, and we was on a forum at the time. And again, about 100 people showed up. And it's like, but in them 100 people were a few guys that, in later years that got jobs in Capcom and jobs in industry, and we're quite unforgettable. And we was given opportunities. Before we know it, we're doing tournaments where 1,000 people are showing up. We're doing tournaments where they're doing previews of games which aren't even coming out. All of a sudden, press are emailing us. And we was part of a group called Neo Empire at the time, which was like the biggest forum and the biggest thing in Europe. All of a sudden, we're doing tournaments, and guys from Europe are coming, and we just kept going and going. We made a lot of errors on the way. We've reformed 3 times. Now we're Visual Platform Limited. We're doing goddamn well now, I've got to say. But it goes to show that once you kind of get noticed, and if you can just
be likable, and show sort of just spirit, and then take those skills and turn them into a professional platform, companies will invest in you.
Yeah, they will.
And just be likable and under promise, over deliver, and always say awesome. Goes a long way with what we've done.
I think that's so important to, you know, make sure that the impact that you're leaving on people is lasting. And you know, in the way that you were talking about, you know, the people that you'd meet, the people that you'd game with, and they went on with their gaming career. It's about the network that you was building, and then it went further than you even knew at the time. And I think that, yeah, I can hear your story, and I understand Lady Luck played a part, but you still had to be there. You were still at 17 years old carrying around your portfolios. Like, who does that at 17? Do you know what I mean? Like, who's thinking on that way of like, right, okay, who just in case there's an opportunity that comes about. Like, it's about staying ready, it's about being ready, especially if you're going to be in this entrepreneur mindset. And I guess one of the questions that I was really curious about when I was listening to both of you speak, and Wilfred as well, was the bigger deal to be your own boss or to not work for someone else?
Wilfred, what shall I do?
No, go ahead, Rich. Actually, go ahead.
That for me, I'm indifferent. End of the day, I appreciate opportunities that you can make yourself, but I also appreciate being given opportunities. It's very, like I said, in gaming, there's very opportunities back in the 90s, early 2000s that you could make for yourself. Mm-hmm. So now it's very different. You know, social media managers exist. YouTubers exist. We can make our own profession now, but you rewind it 15 years, 15, 20 years, it's a very different game. So, yeah, I'm indifferent. You know, I would, you know, work for someone, absolutely. You know, help them get better, yes. Improve myself, yes. So it's all about the times, really. So back then, I think that we did crack on and do it ourselves. We didn't realize the amount of things that we're doing. You know, you don't realize who's watching. Higher ups are watching. People were taking notice. You know, getting it together, making it better, doing it again. But every time it was getting better and tighter. Somebody noticed, you guys can do this, for example. So underneath an umbrella of a company, you can still do that. But also yourself, if you've got the main goal about, you know, trying to do it yourself, is a good support network. And our parents have been supportive of us throughout this. We wouldn't be able to be in the positions that we are without our parents giving us a base to work. Their home had a big living room upstairs, which wasn't a bed. It was like a spare bedroom, big enough to build an office. Not charge us massive rent rates. You know, not charge us for every little bit an office would charge you for. That gave us the opportunity to, you know, just pursue a dream. You know, and that support I will never forget. And even to this day, we still get the support. You know, running a small business now. COVID-19 happened. You know, we needed some help. A lot of companies did. You know, we got it from home, and we always had, mum and dad have always had our best interests, allow us to pursue this dream. And that's something that boils down to a very strong support network if you want to pursue it yourself.
I love that. You're gonna have that network. Absolutely. It you feel as though you can fly even further when you know you've got that base that is just tapping at your toes every now and then when you need that booster. Absolutely. That speaks to me, Rich. That speaks to me. How about you, Wilfred? Yes, Mark. Yeah, please do.
All right. I'm the one that's brave enough to say, go and do it.
Yeah.
I'm the sort of, I take an opportunity and take a risk. Richard, for many years, actually worked for people, and I didn't. I think it took a long time for Richard to actually realise, it's like, look, I say our parents helped us, but I think because one of us was kind of working, one wasn't, and I was trying to pioneer a lot of this.
Yeah.
Sooner or later, Richard could see that, all right, even he was doing dead-end bar jobs during the day. It's just He was. As he felt like he had to. And I was just like, no, I really believe that we're onto something. Every 10 years, I said to my dad, I want to sit at a dinner table with him, and he's one of the typical old-school Jamaican men. What are you doing? It's just like, what are you doing in your career? It's just like, you're getting older now, and Dad, trust me. He didn't really trust me at 20. He didn't really trust me at 30. He kind of trusts me now when I got to about 35. So, but yeah, what Richard said was that they gave us the platform to do it, but I was just like, just take the risk. I didn't really think about if it would fail at all. Didn't know if it'd even succeed, but I didn't really think about the failing because I loved what I was doing, and I thought, I'm not doing some dead-end job.
I thought to myself, if I got to 40 and I couldn't do it, all right, I'd hang the gloves up and I'll do the postman or I'll do the retail. But we kind of made it in our late 30s. And Wilfred, it's over to you, my friend.
No worries. So on my side, I would say I agree with a lot of what Rich said around. I'm very indifferent to that, into the same in a similar way to Rich, because I'm more of a problem solver. I just like solving problems, and I think you can do that in different in different areas. And I think sometimes learning on someone else's company around other people is a good starting block. So like, for example, as I said, I was at Google. So that was actually very useful in terms of the network, in terms of the people's skills, and actually learning from them first before then jumping into my own kind of company and venture. But I think it's different people have different kind of also personality types as well. So for me, that made sense for me because it was building the skill set, and then almost in a way reducing my risk, if you like, because I knew I'd learned so much that the likelihood of failing is going to be less. To what Mark was saying around also learn to take that risk as well. So yeah, I definitely think it is also personality thing. But for me, I would say I agree with Richard. I'm kind of indifferent to being the boss. Wasn't really the main thing. It was problem solving. I just like to solve problems.
I think what you said there was like highly important. There's so many of these new sectors of business and new jobs that like 10 years ago didn't exist. Our parents wouldn't know of. And I feel as well that your guide to becoming an adult is through your parents, through society. Go to school, study, go to college, study, get good grades, get into university. Sometimes you get people like Richard Branson and Alan Sugar who just went none of that, which is a huge risk to take. But Wilfred, what I said about when you go into these huge companies like Google and you look at the infrastructure of the business, you have to ask yourself, how did you guys do it? And it's like, not everyone has that entrepreneurial, I want to be the boss. Like, it does take, the older you get and the bigger you become, that becomes a huge responsibility in itself. But I did like what you said about you can go to somewhere like there and the indifference of, okay, deep down, it's all about a service or a solution, isn't it? Really, is how I look at it. And very, very sort of bare bones of business is this person wants this, can you do it? And if you can, sometimes you can do it being an entrepreneur, sometimes you can do it from being in companies. But there's some really great advice what he said there, and it's like he's done a very different journey to us. Ours was crazy and it kind of worked out. I don't recommend how we did it. I recommend how is it that way? He's done it. But it's all fantastic to hear, and it's great places to be in. So kudos to all of us.
Absolutely. Like this is what I was saying. This is one of the reasons why I was so excited to be a part of this and just be able to hear the varying journeys that we've all taken. Now I'd love to have your confidence, Mark. Like, I absolutely believe in my source, and absolutely yes, we're going to do this. But you know that these things, that imposter syndrome can creep in. Then you start to think, oh, can it be done? But then when you've got the support from your family and your friends that care deeply for you, that will help you go even further, like that's necessary. But having that humility and that ambition and the balance of that is such an important thing when we're on this entrepreneurial journey, right? And you've got to push. You've absolutely got to push. Be safe in where you can, but your comfort zone isn't where the most creativity is bred. You've got to step out of that. You've got to take a chance and try. Where you can be Mark, where you can be Rich, where you can be Wilfred, but always be you. Absolutely. The question. Be you. Absolutely. We've got a question from the audience. Were there points you thought things wouldn't work out, and how did you get through those moments? Love that question. You were talking about things that stumbling. You spoke about the reforming as well that was necessary. But yeah, like mistakes are going to be made. How do you get through?
I think I'll say this quickly. Error is your best friend. It hurts at the time, and I look at it becomes two dockets, right? It's one on the left and one on the right. You haven't got a clue where they are at the beginning. Everything's all together, but you do something, that's right, that's wrong. You do something else, that's right, that's wrong. If you're smart enough, you seem to realise, okay, again, that's right, that's wrong. And try to minimise the error by experimenting with everything. And in the end, what happens is if you keep making loads of errors, you realise it sits here, right? And there's a polar opposite of success. And just stay away from them. Simple as that. But I think you have to go through the mill of good, bad, to make you realize that, okay, because as you can, I guarantee you speak to most successful people, they're probably successful because you've made the mistake and you just stop doing it and you just deliver what needs to be done in the correct way.
Thank you, Mark. Rich, do you have anything to add?
Do me a favour, quickly go back over the question.
Yeah, no problem at all. Yeah, no problem at all. So were the points that you thought that it wouldn't quite work out, and how did you get through those moments? So around the mistakes, around the errors, the learning opportunities, we'll say.
On many occasions when it looked like it wasn't going to work, but I'm a bit different to my brother, even though we worked together. This is to say I've always gone and supported us by going and getting that job. When it's gone wrong, I've looked to get out of what we're doing, go back into the 9 to 5, go back into the office. I have many a times because it's a safer environment if you can get into it, you know. So, but then worked enough back in an office in a sector to try again, you know. So if you've got a good plan, if it goes wrong and you can go back to something that you know is a safe place and you can rebuild and try again, it's if you've got the energy and the time and the perseverance to do it again. When it's not worked out so much for us, I've gone back into an office to support us until it's got to a point where Margot's come back. You know, so our journey's very unique in it, having a brother that I can rely on 100%, and we can bounce off each other and quickly change the situation to back to our advantage. A lot of people probably haven't got that choice. Once you're out probably, you know, doing what you have to do back on a 9 to 5 grind. You may not want to take the risk again, you know. So again, everything that everywhere we've done it's been a unique journey. We've been very lucky. It's this calculated risks have worked out. So but I've always gone back and forth. You know, Mark stuck at it as a more entrepreneurial.
I'd say I'm glad he did.
Yeah,
because many times it even got to the point where I'm just like,
he needs to stop. Go, Mark. You need to go back into work.
Is this right?
Yeah.
But I think because there's two of us. I think if it was me, well, I think once you kind of leave the entrepreneurial journey and realise that, to be honest, it's difficult, isn't it? You know, a 9 to 5 job, a career with salary, it's like, well, sign on a dotted line, isn't it? A contract will say, I get this work to do in this time period over these months or this year, and I get this money this time every day, every month. So you can structure your whole life with it. Imagine you don't have it. Like, I've never really worked for somebody, so it's kind of been a bit crazy that my arrogance, I suppose, of I think we can really do this, makes you probably can sense we're quite different. It's like we're twins. But if it wasn't for Richard sometimes giving me the reality check that you might need to actually give it up, I'm so hard-headed and stubborn that I will break my leg. Thank God I didn't have to make it work. But yes, it just says the journey it's a hard one. It is, but if the passion, believe in your passion. Look, if you aim for the sky's the limit. Unfortunately, if you do fall from that height, though, it could be quite difficult to get up, and that is a bit of a harsh reality to actually stomach. It's not all bells and whistles, but go after your passion and just be likable. Get out there and just make someone realise that I need you and want you. Simple as that.
Absolutely. No, I think that was one of the biggest realizations for me this year, leaving the full-time job and going full-time with my venture. That first month that there wasn't the salaried paycheck, boy, that hit me. I was like, what do you mean? It's the 28th. This is the day to be paid. But it's about how can you take all of that on and keep going. And absolutely, when you're reaching a time, there's not going to be the blueprint that shows you it's this way, that way, that way. You're making it up as you go. Having faith in that while you're not on solid ground at all is a tough skill to learn. But when it works, it works. Wilfred,
kudos
you have the appreciate it. Kudos to you too. Wilfred, you have the last part of this segment. As I've been told, we've got a few moments left. So again, for you, the same question. Were the points where things weren't working out, and how did you get through those moments?
I definitely want to echo what Mark said just a bit earlier around it's that saying I got taught it. I can't remember how old was I think I was around, it must have been like 18, I think it is when I was told it. It was like they'll say there's no such thing as failure, only feedback. And that's something that really stood with me, because it actually meant it's kind of one of those things you might think is just like, oh, it's one of those statements that everyone throws out. But when you actually truly do believe it, you actually see exactly what Mark said around fail as much as possible. And I said as a problem solver, it's like, that's how you problem solve. It's like, oh, I tried this, it didn't work. And I think in one of the things, because I studied computer science, you get used to that very fast. It's like, oh, and I'm sure people in game development feel the same. It's like, you can start trying to build something, it will fail. And it won't work. And then you're gonna have to reconfigure something. Then you're gonna have to move this around. Then you might have to take a day away from what you're doing and then come back and then try and challenge it again and see, actually, wait, I might have done something wrong the last time I was editing it, or last time I changed something. And you sometimes find, especially in coding, it's something like you missed a comma, you missed a bracket. And
the whole thing doesn't work.
Yeah, exactly. And the whole thing doesn't work.
Exactly. One character.
Of one character. So you become very quickly, you start to realize that it isn't about just giving up on that first hurdle, and it's actually getting feedback. It's like, oh, I did that again. I need to avoid doing that. And then as Mark says, you actually realize you reduce the likelihood of failure because you failed at all of the other ways of doing it. So you know these aren't the right ways of doing it. So I would definitely say people should fail fast. In terms of what helps you with that, I actually actively like to do things that take me out of my comfort zone, like outside of work as well. Like, so when I was a student, I was very, very quiet actually, and very observant. So I was a very quiet student. And then I'd also just tell jokes and stuff. I wasn't really engaged. So I would purposely do stuff like public speaking, because it builds your character, it makes you nervous in front of talking to people. So now from that, I've realized that I'm no longer nervous talking in front of people because of that reason, because of all of that training. And it's that similar thing, putting yourselves in those uncomfortable things. Like, for example, that's also the reason I did stuff like skydiving, just to put myself in something that is a bit out of there, just to become more comfortable with doing things that are around risk. And it's kind of like a mental training in a way. So I'd say definitely embrace risk. You don't have to go and do skydiving, of course, but definitely embrace risk in terms of doing failing more and failing fast actually as well. So failing a lot up front so that you know what the right path to take is.
That's awesome. Listen, Wilfred, Rich, Mark, I've thoroughly enjoyed this conversation. Thank you for sticking with it through the technical hiccups, we'll say. Hopefully there was plenty of I definitely took so many of the little nuggets that you mentioned. I don't know if you can see, but I've been writing notes here. So thank you for, even if it's just for me. Thanks for the quick mentoring session. I appreciate it. We're going to go for a quick break now, and then I think we'll be back. We'll be back straight after with all of the panelists. So thanks, everyone. See you shortly.
Oh, hey, hello.
Hey. Look at this. Look at
Everybody.
this.
Nice.
Everyone's in. Oh my days. First of all, can I just say, well done, everyone. Like, we did it. Like, honestly, this was so much. This was so much fun. This was such a great way to just to spend a Thursday evening. Honestly, learned so much from each of you, and just to appreciate you all. Thank you so much.
Naturally and effortlessly. And thank you for comparing. Thank you for being MC and comparing, especially through tech difficulties. Appreciate you stepping up to the plate.
Stay ready, right, Mark? Stay ready.
Born ready. Ever ready.
We've got thank you, Nathan. Thank you. Let me properly thank you. I'm working on that. So we've got a question, which I like this. I'm curious to hear what everyone says. Does Black History Month hold importance to you?
Shall I go first?
Go ahead, Rich.
Not being a cliche, it's not about a month, is it? It gets pigeonholed into a month that, you know, popular media then put a spotlight onto it. It's not about a month, is it? It's about an existence. So why is it crowded into a month? Why isn't it a year? Why isn't it a 5-year, Black History year? But that's just the way it is, and I think it's getting better year upon year. There's more eyes on the prize with this concept. So I'm appreciative of the growth, but it's not about a month, is it? That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, I would agree. I think of Black History Month as the pit stop. Like, we go back, like everyone comes together, you refuel, and then you keep going for the year, and then you come back, etc. So yeah, it's something we should carry with us, like at all times, because it's important and we can't forget. But I definitely see Black History Month as the point where we all come together, put in our best work as a team, learn, and then move forward.
Yeah, I would agree. I think it's similar to what Rich said and similar to what Prince said. It's what we have now, but I think in a lot of industries, it's something that needs to, the outputs of what we all say, because I'm sure a lot of us have spoken at a lot of Black History Months, and the outputs of what we really say need to really be implemented throughout the year. And if we're talking about education within the curriculum, and if we're talking about like in the industry as actual points where people in the gaming industry, I'm talking about, where people actually enforce in a more grand way in terms of actually representation and stuff like that. Because I think sometimes with a lot of companies, even when you go to speak at their events, it seems like it's the only time they are willing to speak and have those open forums around Black history and around their Black employees, which I don't think is right. Right, as Rich said, it should be the whole way through, not even the year, the whole way through the company's existence, to be really honest. So yeah, that's my thoughts on it. It's what we have now, basically, but I really hope we iterate, basically.
Yeah. I really like October as a very intersectional month, as it happens, because it's Black History Month in the UK, but in the US it is also Pride Month, and is the reverse in February, funnily enough. So as a queer Black person, I get to celebrate twice as hard. Yeah. And it's also Spooky Month, which is Halloween is my favorite holiday. So I just party hard all month throughout October. I think the history side of it is something to always acknowledge, especially in industries like this, where there's lots of people who have done a decent amount of pioneering before we've entered the game, and recognizing the work that they've done is important, because I like thinking about it that way rather than necessarily. I mean, the history of colonialism and slavery weighs upon our heads and economies at all times and all hours of the day, but that's a lot to have as a Black person to just have to think about for a month. Right? Everybody else can do that, but I like using these opportunities as the opportunity where we can actually celebrate and enjoy our successes and the successes of previous people that have benefited us. I think is one of the ways that I kind of like thinking about Black History Month as a season.
Yeah, I think I would love to combine what I've heard specifically from you, Nathan, and Prince as that pit stop, right? It's not the month when all of a sudden now, okay, all of our Black employees or all of our Black people that were around, let's shine some light on their trauma. Like, no, let's celebrate us, let's celebrate folks, and let's center the month around Black joy. That's the important thing for me that I think we need to share as far and as wide as possible. And yes, if organizations, if places, people need a reminder that, hey, when we're talking about different groups and when we're considering different groups, here's a month that is like a marker for it. If it's the reminder for you, great. If it's the only thing that you do, it's not good enough. But for me personally, I take this month to deeply consider my joy and the Black joy around me and how I can multiply that as much as possible.
I don't know about a lot of you, but our gran was the Windrush generation. And the story she told us when she was one of the very few minorities of Black people in England. And when she had this story where some girl came up to her and wiped her hand and says, "Are you a coal man?" Because obviously they only kind of saw dark skin because the coal miners. She'd love to say this story year on. She passed away now, rest in peace. But isn't it amazing how from the atrocity and, you know, through the times in this country where the Blacks were misunderstood and probably so much opportunity was kind of just stopped for them, even before they tried to get through the door, to now where, look at all of us that we're in this. And personally, I don't think it's about Black anymore. It's just we're people that are excelling entrepreneurially and being ourselves and being out there, and everyone in here right now is inspiring someone else to go and just fulfill their dreams and move forward. And it's just really wonderful when you think today what we have from where we came from. It's just inspiring that it's not Black History Month at all, is it? It's a lifestyle, lifetime, and it's just wonderful to be in this space.
What I would say as well is, to echo what everyone said, is that, you know, it's to acknowledge and appreciate how far we've come, but also to let everyone know what's to come, what everyone's doing, what that community is trying to promote in terms of businesses, in terms of products, in terms of industry as well. It's also as a month to showcase what we plan to do and how all our successes.
Mara, Charlotte, Amber?
Yeah, I just echo what Douglas said. It's Black History Month's important because it provides a voice and a platform to so many Black people, creators, businessmen, businesswomen. But like what Rich was saying, what everyone else was saying, it's a lifestyle, it's a lifetime, it should be the whole year.
I agree with all of you. I think back to what Rich said, if I think back to when I started my job in the tech field that I'm in, the first year it came to October and it was literally like, okay, so we're going to do this for Black History Month and this and this and this. And I'm Mara, can you do this? It's like, oh, okay, so I'm Black now, all of a sudden. And I actually went to the manager and I said, you can't just showcase me because it's October. Like, that doesn't make sense. So all of a sudden now I have a culture to you. And they actually took it to like the market and said, you know, we need to do more. And it does gripe me when I see, especially even in Pride Month, when you see all these rainbows, but then all of a sudden it goes back to just the normal logos and things like that. And I think it's good to showcase us. But if you're only doing things in October, then to me, that's almost like fraudulent. There's no point really, just hang it up, as they would say. I think it's very important to me as well, but same like Rich and Mark, my grandmother, great-grandmother came over in Windrush, and a lot of the stories that she told me, it kind of still echoes almost that, you know, there is change, but there's still fragments of things that are still present in this day. So I'd say, yeah, just, I don't know. I in school, it irritated me because they would have pictures of like Gandhi and all these other people that weren't even Black. And I've always just been that person. I'll speak my mind. So I was just saying, like, it's not, is it really Black History Month, or is it just, even this Black History Month again, they've put person of color and Asian minorities in an article. But so what is it really? I don't know. I think media outlets, a bit messy, not doing it right.
Have a word, Nathan.
Oh,
with the media, like come on, you're our representative.
Media Maker Corporation I work for. That's right. They're like, wait, am I supposed to be solving this today? I didn't like book time for this.
Come on.
Fix your article, Nathan.
Okay, we've got one more question before we have to wrap up, because I do know that we're running over. So thank you everyone who's staying with us, and thank you speakers for sticking around. What does the industry need to do to better support Black professionals in the to achieve success in the gaming space?
I guess I better start from the top again. I don't think it needs to do much more. I think that the gaming sector is one of the most inclusive and the most diverse and the most accepting of who you are. I remember being a young creative person. I wanted to go and work for some of the lads mags back in the day, which don't exist anymore. No black guy worked for Loaded. No black guy worked for in the like creative departments. There were no black people in those roles, and I'm like, okay. But we then, you know, when we moved into gaming, the way me and my brother went into it, you know, nothing stopped us. And I think it's one of the very few industries that don't really see the colour of your skin, just literally see your character and your capabilities and just let you thrive.
I mean, Prince can tell you, sort of stomped our ground into Capcom. It's like, you? What are these? To people. Funny enough is, I don't see the word black. And it's very controversial what I'm about to say. They always say Black History Month, Black History Month. It's like, we're people. It should be People's Month, People History Month. So, as Richard says, I feel that the games industry is one of the few that I don't think they don't really care if we're black or white or anything. It's just like, are you what we need? Are you what we like? And I think it's one of the few industries that will just take you on for you, or not take you on for you, just whatever colour you are.
As a counterpoint to that, I would say, I in addition to doing streaming, I do voice acting, which is a very interesting time in terms of being cast for things, in particular video games, particularly localized video games, because the current default is if the characters speak English, they're speaking American English very specifically. Or if they are particularly looking for black characters in casting, they won't say that they're looking for an African-American person and not just black people in general. But then you read the sides that you're given, and it's like, this would be absurd coming from my voice. And if I was doing the accent, I would not be comfortable doing that. That would be mortifying. So I think in many ways, in terms of like, are you the person that we need? That is true, but also they need to also update their thinking in terms of the diversity of the people that they need for those roles. Because it's very easy. Sometimes it can be very, very easy to fit the thing that they need. And sometimes they don't even think about the demographics that would include you where you would be useful to them. At least within the gaming environment and within game production, indie games continue to thrive as a platform for featuring minority faces and voices, both I was going to say behind camera and in front of camera, but you get what I mean in terms of both development and on screen. And I think supporting those efforts is one of the best ways to be able to kind of get more diverse people and black people in work. If any of you were at Eurogamer Expo 2 weekends ago, I wasn't able to attend because I'm up in Manchester and I'm not in a position to travel. But there was one of the games demoed there, Octo Ninja Hachimaru, produced by somebody whose online handle is Pyro Kid Sosa, which is the most kind of like joyful, like cross-cultural blending of Black British culture and like East Asian like pop culture. We were talking on stream earlier today about Tekken and how video games, like, you know, fighting video games, and also my dad was a big fan of like kung fu movies and that kind of cross-cultural overlap. This it's a game that's all about that, and all the voice actors are very specifically South London in terms of their accent, and it is joyful to see. I adore that. So, you know, the more games like that that are willing to kind of hire people from the Black British diaspora. Sorry, that was a lot of words. I apologize.
They were great words. They were great words, Nathan. Come on now. I don't mind trying to follow that, Nathan. But I agree with you. I think that I think that the industry needs to do more. I think for any young Black person who's maybe at a point where they're thinking, oh, maybe the gaming sector is for me, or maybe this is where I want to pursue. I enjoy games, and they look at developers, they look at these gaming studios, they're not necessarily going to see themselves. There's maybe one or two people that will look similar, but there's not enough, I think. And I think that there have been initiatives, and there are initiatives, and Raise the Game as another diversity pledge as an example of that, where the industry is starting to look deeper at inclusivity and starting to look at, okay, well, what are we doing to make sure and ensure that we are representative? As a streamer and content creator, I've seen the ugliest sides. Thankfully, not personally attacked, but I've seen the ugliest sides of what racism can do in this space, right? And there was a lot of things that I would have liked to have seen companies do to combat that they just didn't do. And I think that last year, with the resurgence, if you like, or the more attention on Black Lives Matter, there were a lot of promises that were made, not just in the gaming space, across all different sectors, about what companies were going to do and how they were going to be better, and how they're going to try harder and just improve. A year on, I question what if the momentum is still there, and if we can still see the activity. Now there's flickers of it, absolutely, but the intensity that there was last year, I don't see. And when we're talking about inclusivity, when we're talking about people feeling welcomed, it needs to be a necessity. It needs to be at the forefront of every leader's mind, and when it's not, it's very, very obvious, and it hurts.
Yeah, thank you, Michaela. That was actually the point I was going to bring up. It's like maintain that energy. Like, we don't need like a tragedy to happen for people to get motivated and then it just dies. Like, I think really we should, as an industry, hold yourself accountable. Like, if you plan to do something, give yourself a flag to reach. Say if you're going to do X, how are you going to measure it? And if you haven't done this by this point, what are you going to do about it? Because we're very good at or not just gaming, but the industry as well, just making gestures, but not coming to anything. Because I remember around the time of George Floyd's death, in the government, we had a petition to, alongside gender disparity in pay, we were going to add ethnicity along that as well. And I think it got the necessary signatures. I think it's like 300,000 or 30,000, I can't remember. And it went to the government. I think they debated it in court. I'm messing up my words. It's like they debated it in the Houses of Parliament, and it came back, oh, we can't do it because it might give away people's identity. And it's like, well, the reason why I give away people's identity is because there's not enough of them, because you'll be able to identify the one Black dude that works in accounting, right? So it's just like, yeah, it was nice, the gesture, but we haven't gone back to it. It's been a year, hasn't been brought up, it's not been like reviewed or anything. It's just like forgotten, and it's just like, well, that's not helpful. We need to go back to it, or we need to have a new strategy. We need to continue to think about it, because like this tends to happen again and again. We bring like the community brings something up, we think about it, we say yeah we should do something, and then it just disappears, and hopefully everyone forgets about it. And so it's just maintaining that energy, I think, is really important to actually make change happen.
Very telling that you said the Black dude as well. That's in the position. I'll leave that there, and I'll look at Mara and Charlotte Amber and see if you want to add to what I heard, Nathan. Maybe what you heard too. But that's a thing as well that companies should consider as well.
So true, so true. Thank you for calling me out.
No calling out. It's what you see. it's what you see.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'll echo what Prince said and what you said, Michaela. I actually disagree with Rich when he said he doesn't think the game industry has an issue, a diversity issue, or an issue with hiring Black people. It's something like 2% of developers today are Black. So there's a clear issue in their hiring practices. It's not hard to see. But the thing is, it's not unique to the gaming industry. It's not unique to the tech industry. It's not unique to the business industry. It's prevalent everywhere. And calling back to what some of the other panels said earlier today, representation is so important. Events like this are so important. And equally, when that representation is here, it's making the Black employees feel valued. so they want to stay and will grow and will encourage others to come into the space too. I think that's what the game industry needs to do more of, and hopefully they will.
I think the thing I'll just add on that really quickly is one, I think, Shalam, you're right in terms of I think out of all the industries that I've worked in, from banking to tech to gaming, I think out of those industries, gaming and tech are doing a better job, but that better job, as you said, Charlotte Amber, is still, I guess, not where we need it to be. But I think in terms of solutions, I think the first thing is, I think everyone needs to be more transparent with their numbers. I think that's the first thing that needs to happen in terms of what that looks like, and particularly in your organization, and not just for doing it for that sake, but also doing it for just to not make incorrect decisions, let's just say, in terms of when you're casting certain people into roles, when you're doing certain caricatures of Black people, making sure someone's there to be like, actually, guys, I don't think we should be doing that, because that could basically offend someone. And I think that those checks and balances are needed, and that's why I often say around, not just gaming, by the way, around all industries, the checks and balances are needed. The second thing I think is that where they recruit from. So I always hear from people like, especially in every industry I worked in, it's just very hard to find people in the Black community. I'm like, it really isn't. I'm like, I can tell you 1,000,001 places you can find these people. It's usually their talent pool, because people hire when people who look like them. So when they're looking at their networks, it doesn't really have people from all these different places, unless they grew up in a diverse network. So I think definitely expanding the pool of where they look as well. I noticed that a lot. I think a lot of companies are guilty of that. Like, they'll go and recruit from just the best universities, or go and recruit in certain and not go to places. I think it was Michaela, you said this earlier, and I say this as a Londoner, born and raised Londoner, but I often do think about how, as a country, we forget about places like the Midlands and all of the other, to be honest, all of the other regions, and it's a lot of a London focus. So I think expanding that out as well is something that definitely needs to be done. I know the games community does a better job than most people doing that, actually. Because tech, everyone's in London. But yeah, I definitely think transparency and recruitment practices it helps us keep everyone accountable. And I say us, I mean everyone, doesn't just have to be us as the Black community as well, by the way. I mean, it helps keep everyone accountable, and including the government as well.
I think one important thing is for companies not to rely on your Black employees to do the work for you, or to bring things to your attention, because I've seen both gaming and tech, it became very draining, because I was always that person to say, no, do it this way, or no, have you noticed this, or maybe you should try this. And then it can be quite disheartening when you put all that work in, but again, a year later, because like Kayla said, the world was in uproar when George Floyd was murdered. And now that kind of trickled down. And I think in terms of, I can speak from a Twitch streamer's perspective. Often Black women and non-binary women and trans women are left out. And I feel like you can't scream Black Lives Matter if you're forgetting those communities as well. I think it's very important to highlight that. And yeah, without that, what is the change, to be honest? Yeah, I could talk about this all day, but I won't.
We'll talk about it on stream. It's coming, don't worry, we'll do it.
The sequel is rapidly approaching.
Douglas, I think we still need to hear from you, lovely.
Well, I think a lot of it has been said by everyone, but what Wilfred said was right in terms of the recruitment. And I do think the gaming industry needs to do better in the way it engages with universities, especially because that's where a lot of young people are, starting to find where they want to be in their career, in their life. If you can engage them at their passion at that age, just as they're leaving or at the start of uni, regardless of what course or modules they're taking. You can inspire them when they leave, or even when they do a sandwich year to, take part in an internship at a gaming company. So I do think that is one method that the gaming industry can do as well. And as Wilfred said, it's the pool that they recruit from as well is important, because for me, in terms of how I found this role that I'm in now, or rather the role I started with, it was sort of just put my name and CV and blast it everywhere. I don't even remember. I don't even know where they actually picked my CV from, but they picked it. It's that many sites that I blasted it to. So that shows me already that, there's not many places or like direct places. There are now. I know there are dedicated platforms and websites and tools that are dedicated to gaming recruitment, but back then there wasn't.
Thank you, Douglas. Right. So I think that's the end of our time, or we are over time. So the thing to do now is for all of us to plug our links, plug where people can find us, and recommendations. Recommendations of how we could maybe support someone in their journey. But yes, how they can find us, because this is a unique and beautiful panel. I don't know if this has been done in this way before, but I really hope that it happens again. So soak in as much as you can with what you've heard from us, but also reach out to people. So Rich and Mark, would you like to start us off? How can people find you and connect with you?
Where is it? Visualplatform.co.uk. Just simple as that. Our social media presence isn't huge because we do masquerade as other businesses. So we'll go in as a team under Sega, under Capcom, under Namco. But yeah, visualplatform.co.uk in the Google search engine. No, that's it. That's it. Our address. Go there and you'll see what we do. You'll see what we do. Oh, it's at the moment, it's not optimized for mobile. So it'll force you to look on a desktop because it's all visual and video, and we just can't get it on that small 300 wide pixel real estate. And I've been told off many times to actually do a mobile version. But please look on your desktops, people, on your laptops, please.
Nathan, how can people find you?
Oh, sure. For once and for always, I am your androgynous android game show host from the future, Nathan Blades. Thank you so much for having me on your show. You can find me at the Neon Caster on Twitch, which is immediately below there. I've been typing in Twitch chat as well, so you can go follow me that way. In fact, I'm going to be streaming immediately after this at past. You can also follow me on Twitter at Phantom Arts Ent, Phantom Arts ENT, which generally has all of my creative projects. If you ever want to speak to me about stuff like tabletop RPGs, about voice acting, just about what it means to put briefs together for show planning and production, drop me a line. I would be more than happy to talk to you about it.
Fantastic. Douglas, how can people find you?
Mine's pretty simple. Just find me on LinkedIn. Just type my name in there and you can just find me there.
Great. Wilfred, how can folks get in touch?
Yeah, it's just my name. It's usually just my name together on most social media platforms, and then also just audiomob.com. We have loads of roles that we're going to be hiring for as well, so should put that.
Hey, get your jobs. Charlotte Amber.
Yeah, you can find me on LinkedIn. So Charlotte Amber Brown on LinkedIn.
Fantastic. Prince.
Yeah, I'm the same. So Prince Yeboah, YEBOAH on LinkedIn. If you have any questions about getting into games industry, I'll try my best to answer.
Thank you. Mara?
You can find me inspiring Imara on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Reddit. I'm going to be streaming in half an hour as well on Twitch. We love everyone in the Pink Forest. That's my community. So come say hey.
Mm-hmm. It's the brand consistency for me.
It's the consistency for me. And for me, you can find me on Twitch, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok every now and then as it's Kayla Sinead _ for my streaming and the content. But if you want to talk about all things leadership and how we can get better leaders, I love those conversations. You can find me on LinkedIn, Michaela Sinead. More than happy to connect and talk about, hey, that in-between moment when you're thinking of the thing, you want to do it, but you're not quite sure how to. Let's chat. Make that step. Well done, everyone. Thank you so much, Dom. Well done, team. We did it. This is great.
Nice.
See you at the next one.
Well done, everyone.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
You're all amazing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good evening, everybody.
You too.
You too.
Thank you.